praying, hopefully from several of you. And we'll have lunch together, and then we'll break for the spring, rest of the spring and summer. And because of that, I've been praying about, also Guatemala. We have about 15 of us going to Guatemala, April 26th through 29th. I think everyone's bought all their plane tickets, and Becca May has hotel rooms, and we're going with Roma International St. Augustine's Ministry. We're so excited. Okay, if there's anyone, is there room for anyone else, or we kind of
Oh, there's room.
Is there room?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything you need to share about the mission trip?
Well, there's room. Like, definitely a few more can sign up. And at one point, people thought, oh, it's husband and wives plus kids, but it's not like that. There's like a couple going, like my husband's going, but there's also like mom-daughter teams, or there's like a couple of girlfriends going. So it doesn't matter what your party looks like.
Yes.
Like, it's come the way you want to come. So just to put that out there, because some people thought, oh, it has to be my husband and I, or me and a friend. It doesn't matter. But no,
Yes.
there's room. There's definitely room if y'all want to look into it and come last.
We've got several mother-daughter duos. I'm bringing
Yes.
my two of my girls. Suzanne's bringing her daughter and daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
Becca and John are bringing both of their kids. We've
Yeah.
got an array. So excited about that. And now, as I was praying and thinking about what people might want to do in the spring, summer, until we get together again regularly in the fall, I've been praying about different options. One option, and this is not to the exclusion of others, as y'all know, we just finished the 90-day New Testament the Saturday before Easter. On May 1st, we're going to do a 30-day Psalms and Proverbs, and we'll be doing Slack videos. And then in July just for men is going to be the life of David on Slack, if any of your sons or husbands want to do that. And then I think the day after Labor Day, we're going to start the 6-month chronological Bible. So instead of doing the 90-day Bible, it's going to be 6 months. So it'll be a much slower pace. And I think we're going to work that into how we are doing Women in the Vine this fall. So that will be a great opportunity. If the 90-day whole Bible is a little much for you, this will be a lot more manageable. In addition to that, I've given everyone, who here started the Grace Outpouring? Okay, awesome. In addition to that, I brought in today, we invited Taylor Smith from Novo. Come on up. He was the one that introduced me to this book that has been so life-changing. And Taylor is married to Amanda. They have 3 children. And some of you all might recognize him from Family Legacy. He and Holly Scurry grew up together. They both worked at Family Legacy several of the same years.
Yeah.
And welcome, Taylor. Everyone give him a round of applause. And anyway, so he grew up in Dallas with Holly, has been in ministry for many years, and he is going to tell us a little bit about Novo. It's the ministry I've been telling you about. Russell and I've been through it twice. And if any of you also know Virginia and Ken Sloan, they brought it to Dallas. So, and the 2 churches that sponsored are Highland Park Pres and All Saints Church, which is an Anglican church downtown. So they kind of brought it to Dallas, and now we'll just do a Q&A. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, do you want to introduce yourself and say
I would
anything
love
first?
to. I feel a little outnumbered here today. First one. I'm so thrilled to be here. Mostly because my life is just a testimony that God doesn't stop pursuing us. I was really good at being a Christian, and then Jesus was like, "Hey, I've got fresh new stuff for you." And I was like, "Is there room for that in my life? Like, I don't know that's possible." And that was me realizing it, having even been a missionary overseas. So I mostly today just want to encourage you all that God's still up to some amazing stuff around the world, and it's not just reserved to what He's doing in like dirty, scary, other language type places. Like, He is at work here as well. And so yeah, I get to bring you a little bit of news from the front.
Yay. Oh, do you want the microphone?
If you'd like for me to have it, I can also just project more if you'd like for me to.
Well, let's do it since we got some people in the back.
Cool.
Okay, so Taylor, tell us, when did you leave Family Legacy and join Novo, and what does Novo mean?
Yeah, good question. Oh, so hot. Okay.
Look at the mic. No, it's good. It's good.
Okay. So I lived with my wife and children in Zambia from early 2012 to 2015. Like I said, we brought my 7-month-old while we were there. I got to serve as the deputy country director there in country, and specifically we were there to serve orphan kids. We provided a school system for them, and we administered over 850 kids in our full-time care. What was interesting is in all my extra time, we also were church planting there as well. And for the first time ever, I was encountering people who were engaging in actual, real spiritual warfare. And I realized I got no paradigm for this. I was like, I contribute nothing to this equation. And I realized it was just because the idea that there was a spiritual battle I assumed was happening on the other continents. By God's grace, he introduced me to people who were different than me, but I trusted and loved them. And so he began to slowly expose me to what he was doing and what he was up to. So we got back from Zambia in 2015, and I started looking around saying, like, how do I learn this stuff? Like, I'm not just gonna start Googling spiritual warfare, because like, who knows what I'm gonna encounter, right? And by God's grace, I connected with this organization called Novo. Novo is Latin to make new, based out of Anaheim, California, where on paper, we are a missionary sending organization. We've got around 730 missionaries that are cross-cultural missionaries that serve over 100 countries. The cool thing is that is a mere fraction of the influence the Lord's allowed us to have. I dare say it's less than 5% of our work. What we're doing is pouring into indigenous movements of the gospel around the world. So just a definition for you, what is a movement of the gospel? We believe it is a multi-generational, multiplicative, organic form of the gospel going out. So what that means is a disciple who makes disciples who makes disciples. The way I like to describe it is, how many people know the name of their great-grandfather? Yeah, probably most of y'all. How about his dad? Probably not. What's cool is that that's when you transcend, whether it's Novo or a church planter or something, because now it's the name of Jesus that everything's going out in. So we're seeing movements of the gospel happen all over the world. Here I've got a little QR code for you if you'd like to pull up just some of the stories and the numerical data. We passed our 1 million mark in the Middle East this last year of new believers from a Muslim background. Like Jesus on the move. Yeah. So it's funny, actually, people used to think it was impossible to bring a Muslim to faith. What's funny is the rest of our areas of ministry within Novo are like, y'all are doing Muslim ministry. Like, that's easy. Because Jesus is doing all the work. He's the one showing up. So it's really exciting.
Okay, we could talk about around the world for a long time. Russell and I actually just went with the Pettys to their annual conference, and we got to hear from missionaries around the world. One couple that we met from Scotland. Well, the country of Scotland is a post-Christian country, and they have more, persecution there than a lot of closed nations, if you will. So the Lord is at work all over. Now, will you jump to what you're seeing the Lord do in downtown Dallas? Because it can affect a lot of your kids. Because I just have to tell you, Russell and I've been to some of the meetings, and it is like when I was at the University of Richmond. God is showing up. Kids are staying there, 20-somethings who work full-time are staying there till 1 and 2 in the morning, and God is doing amazing things. So can you tell us a little bit about what the Lord's doing locally?
Yeah, I think it's so encouraging. We do have this assumption that God's just doing exciting things elsewhere. And we can kind of have a passive posture to think like, well, if I'm not seeing it in my church, then maybe it's just not happening. But I want to encourage you, the United States is a country where God is going after people. He's leaving the 99 and going after the one. And I have been able to have a front row view of what we've seen historically is that there hasn't been a movement of the gospel in recorded church history that didn't have young people at its heart. Which is so interesting because I think we can all agree that the identity of young people is where the battlefront is right now. And that doesn't shock me, actually. And so what's really neat is that the things that we attribute to kind of the silliness of young people is like, oh, they won't put down roots, they won't, this, blah, 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 whatever. They're flighty, they're whatever. When we look at it and see that it's redeemed for the sake of Christ, it's actually they're a force to be reckoned with. And so about 3 years ago, we had an opportunity where about 20-somethings engaged with us with a prayer training that we do called the Spiritual Authority Cohort. I'll reference that in a little bit. But it's really just teaching people, who does God say you are? What is the authority, his delegated authority, he's invited us to partner with him in? 30 or so young people started, 15 of them remained to the end. But those 15 were like, our generation needs this. They went out and recruited another 80 for round 2. And we just about a month ago finished up with a group of about 140 20-somethings and 30-somethings in Dallas, learning what does it mean for me to hear from God, be obedient, walk in favor, reclaim spiritual territory, and be a blessing to the people around me. And so that is an opportunity that we're training people. We've trained around 1,600 people in Dallas alone in what is spiritual authority. But I'm telling you, we've got a little chapel. If anyone knows where Central Commons is, it's a little church over off kind of Mockingbird, west of the toll road. These young people practically live there. Like I joke and say, like, I need to just keep pillows up there because they stay there to encounter the presence of God. But our kind of tagline is, we're hosting the presence of God for the sake of making disciples. And so they're learning to hear his voice and then to be obedient. So it's a very, very exciting time in Dallas.
Very exciting time. And also, just as an aside, this book, Grace Outpouring, I told you we're going to Faldy Brennan in August. Taylor leads the trips to Faldy Brennan. Just as an
It's a
FYI.
really tough job, you know.
Yeah.
Someone's got to do it. Yeah, I just came back from there 2 weeks ago with a group of 18 20-somethings from Dallas. And I was just giving Jen a little report. We baptized 2, had 2 confirmed healings while we were there, multiple deliverances, people hearing God's voice for the first time. People came back different, to the point where their friends and roommates were like, what is going on there? And the exciting thing, and this is the last thing I'll say about Wales specifically, is it is kind of the end of the world. You fly to London, and then you got to take 2 trains, and you end up, you're like, where am I? I'm in a country where there's more sheep than people. But there is something about going to the end of the world looking for Jesus, because he came to the end of the world to find us. And so there is this beautiful moment where expectancy meets Jesus showing up, and lives are transformed.
Awesome. Okay, so since we're ending in 2 weeks, y'all, I didn't plan this. You can't make this stuff up. I had texted Taylor and said, do you have anything that some of these women might want to do with their husbands, alone, with their kids, whatever? He goes, yeah, we have 2 cohorts starting the first week of May.
No, earlier than that, April 21st and 22nd.
Okay, and those are going to be multi-gen. So
Yeah.
share that, and then also if they want to do something in their house, share it with them. How they
Yeah,
want to do that.
perfect. So I mentioned the spiritual authority cohort. It's a 6-module training. Just to quickly tell you, that covers what does it mean for us to step into a shared authority with Jesus? What has he called us into? When he says, greater things will you do than even me, because that's what he's called us in. That's our inheritance. It's what does that look like for me? How do I walk that out? That is, how do I bless people? How do I hear from God? How do I, obviously my salvation is in place, but he called me to abundant life. How do I sort through some of the stuff in my life? Or for that matter, how do I pray with confidence for physical healing for people? How do I stand in the gap? Anybody heard Jesus say, like, you are a royal priesthood? It's kind of a confusing concept. We look at that theologically. We look at it biblically. God, what are you calling us into? And then my favorite is the last module, which is reclaiming spiritual territory. What are the spaces that we've ceded to the enemy that the Lord's ready for us to take back, because we're part of ushering kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So starting, 2 weeks from now, Sunday night and Monday night, April 21st, I think there's a slide, if we can go to the second one. So Sunday night, I'll be facilitating. Monday, my peer will be facilitating, and it will be 6 weeks in a row. You can see a little QR code, that'll give you more information. And there's the address. It's at Central Commons. It's our little chapel. It's going to be multi-generational. There'll be young people. There'll be no longer young people. And it's an experimental environment. And so I want to tell you, if some of even those concepts, maybe you've kept at arm's length because you're like, I just don't know about this. This is out of my paradigm. The way we phrase it is, this is about the safest environment you could be in to experiment with Jesus. We want to create a safe environment where you can hear from him, practice with friends, and then just see what God has for you. So that'll be coming up. There's no registration beforehand. Come check it out. If it's for you, we'll get your name and you can just join us for those 6 weeks.
Can you do it remotely?
Yeah, great question. So this round that we're doing is going to be in person. Again, 6 weeks. You can choose either Sunday or Monday. In the fall, starting in October, that's kind of our normal season for the spiritual authority cohort, and there are multiple virtual solutions for every week. So if you're a Monday night person, if you're a Thursday, Sunday, whatever that might be. So that will be available, and if you're interested in that, come find me and I can get you some information on that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Taylor. Our first exposure to the Novo cohorts through Highland Park Press was Jenna and Scott Petty. they invited us and six couples into their home to do the cohort. And back then it's changed, but we would meet once a month. And then we had a month to practice what we learned. I think now it's either every week or every other week, depending on how it's formatted. And so I just thought maybe Jen and Luke could come up and just share briefly for a couple minutes how it's affected her and Scott's marriage and their home, hosting this in their home, and any other plug you want to make for the future.
While she's coming up, I just want to read a verse over you guys. Just something I feel like the Lord wanted me to share with you today. It seems like, based on your notes, it might be right in line, which is really fun. So coming out of John 15.
He's really young.
It is getting closer and closer to my face. It fits in my pocket.
You're going this way.
So in John 15:15, no longer do I call you servants, for the servant doesn't know what the master's doing. But I've called you friends. For all that I have heard from my Father, I've made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide. So I just want to encourage you with that. What we as Nova want to do is we want to help teach you how to see Jesus as friend. That you can have a communicative relationship with, an obedient relationship, and one that's full of adventure. Novo means to make new. We want to partner with Jesus in helping to make you new. And so, yeah, I just want to share that with you all today.
Bless you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Okay, so I'm Jenna Lou Petty, and Taylor, thank you. Okay, so I was asking the Lord, what did He want me to tell you guys about Nova? This Nova was transformational for me and my husband. First thing, I grew up as a pastor's daughter, always knew the Lord. I don't know a time in my life that I didn't know the Lord. I didn't always walk with Him, but I knew Him. But it wasn't until Novo, until I had a real personal, in-depth relationship with Him. Because I learned my true identity. In these modules that Taylor mentioned and Mary Clayton mentioned, every single one of them, you learn your identity. It goes deeper and deeper in your mind and your heart, knowing who you are and what God thinks of you. So from listening to God, that you can listen to Him, and I could hear Him speak. He speaks through His Word. He speaks to the pastor, spoke through my father. But really that I could hear Him. And those little pricks that I would get in my spirit, a lot of times those were from the Lord, and I just didn't even know that. Following through with that. So that was my first aha that I think God wanted me to tell you, because I think some of you may be going, can I really hear God? Love that I'm in Bible study. I love that I have this word. Can I hear Him? The second transformational thing is prayer. God loves us. He wants to partner with us. He wants us to partner with Him and praying with Him. And Mary Clayton referenced that we went to this retreat for Novo, and Scott and I were praying with authority. We're having the authority. But someone at Novo said, do you realize they can see into the spiritual realm? When you pray, I see things move. And I was like, wow, okay. It's a little bit more weight on it. Like, how am I praying, and where am I, and what, Lord, what do you want me to learn, and how do you want me to pray? And let me listen to your voice and pray with authority in the direction and the spaces that you want me to pray in. And that's it. Prayed over children, prayed over family, prayed over our community. One of the things Mary Clayton and I did early on was we walked our neighborhood and prayed a little bit. We keep saying we're going to do it again. We need to. But you can shift. You can shift things. The high school, the middle school, your church, your marriage, your friends. Because Satan doesn't want you to do it, and God's given you all the power to do it.
Amen.
That's it. Those are the two things I want to tell you that I think the Lord wanted me to say. And I would love for y'all to do Novo. It is truly transformational, and it is very safe. Like, I knew nothing. So I will tell you, the very first time when they said, okay, now just listen to God. I am getting nothing. Like, I am getting nothing. But it was safe. So don't be scared to join Novo and practice and try it. You will be blessed. And I've done it 3 times, the cohorts 3 times. So go and then keep going, and then keep practicing with friends. It'd be fun to see all of us do it together.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenna Lou. Now y'all know why I've been so excited about it, right?